It's a situation that can feel like a punch in the gut when the people we love most, the ones we've raised and cared for, seem to disregard or even disrespect us. We all want to be treated with kindness, understanding, and respect, especially by our own children. And yet, at times, we might find ourselves in situations where that's just not the case. This isn't just about the occasional disagreement or misunderstanding. It's about feeling undervalued and hurt by someone who should understand us better than anyone else. If you've ever found yourself in that situation, you're not alone. It's something that many seniors face, but it doesn't have to define your relationship with your grown children. In this video, we're going to explore how to handle being disrespected by your grown children, and we'll focus on practical steps you can take to rebuild that respect, or at the very least, protect your own emotional well-being. When we think about being disrespected by our children, it's important to realize that respect isn't just about words or actions. It's also about how we perceive those actions. Sometimes, what feels like disrespect might stem from misunderstandings, generational differences, or even stress they're facing in their own lives. But regardless of the cause, how we handle those situations is crucial for our own peace of mind and the health of our relationships. So, let's begin by talking about the first way to handle this situation: setting clear boundaries. It's so easy to fall into the trap of wanting to please our children, especially when they're adults and have their own lives and struggles. We might think, well, I'm their parent, so I should just be understanding, and they'll come around eventually. But this can often lead to us allowing disrespect to continue because we haven't firmly stated what's acceptable and what isn't. Boundaries are essential for healthy relationships at any age, but they become even more crucial as we get older. Setting boundaries isn't about being harsh or unloving. It's about taking care of yourself, your needs, and your mental health. It's a way of saying, I love you, but I also need to be treated with dignity. Here's an example that many of you might relate to. Imagine your grown child frequently shows up late when they've promised to visit you. Every time, you brush it off, thinking, oh, they're busy, it's no big deal. But after a while, that lack of respect for your time starts to add up. You start to feel resentful, and that initial disappointment turns into frustration. In a situation like this, it's important to calmly and kindly set a boundary. You might say something like, I really enjoy spending time with you, but when you show up late without letting me know, it makes me feel unimportant. In the future, please let me know if you're running late, or if it's easier for you to reschedule. You've clearly communicated your feelings, and you've set a boundary that helps protect your time and emotional well-being. Setting boundaries can be difficult, especially if you've never done it before or if you're worried about the consequences. But it's a crucial step toward regaining respect. It's also an important lesson for your children. When you set boundaries, you're teaching them how to treat you with the same care and consideration that you have always given them. The second way to handle disrespect is by practicing self-respect. Often, we're taught to be humble and selfless, especially as parents. We want to put everyone else's needs before our own, but this can sometimes lead to self-neglect. When we don't show respect for ourselves, it can be harder to expect or receive it from others. Self-respect starts with recognizing your worth, especially at this stage of life. It's easy to feel overlooked or irrelevant, but you are still important. You have experiences, wisdom, and love to share, and that deserves recognition. In your relationship with your children, make sure you're taking the time to care for yourself, not just physically but emotionally and mentally. This might mean doing things that bring you joy, setting aside time for your own needs, or seeking out the support of others when necessary. For example, let's say you've been feeling neglected by your children. Instead of waiting for them to change or apologize, start by changing the narrative in your own life. Treat yourself with the same respect you hope to receive from them. You might pick up a new hobby you've always wanted to try, or start spending more time with friends or other family members who uplift you. When you start treating yourself with care and respect, it sets a positive example for your children. It also reminds you that your happiness and well-being are just as important as theirs. By practicing self-respect, you send a clear message that you won't tolerate disrespect, and you create a healthier foundation for your relationship with your children. It's not about demanding respect, but about showing that you are worthy of it and that you will not settle for less than what you deserve. Now, let's think about the third way to handle being disrespected by your grown children: finding support outside the family. It's tempting to think that everything we need to feel happy and fulfilled should come from our family, especially our children. However, sometimes they might not be in a position to offer the support or understanding that we need. This doesn't mean they don't love us. It simply means that they might be caught up in their own lives or struggles, which can make it difficult for them to show the respect and care we desire. Finding support outside of your family can be incredibly helpful in these situations. Whether it's a close friend, a support group, or even a counselor, having someone to talk to can provide much-needed perspective and emotional relief. When we're going through challenges with our children, it can help to talk to someone who isn't emotionally involved and can offer a fresh perspective. They might even have insights on how to handle the situation in a way that preserves both your dignity and the relationship with your child. It's also important to remember that you are not alone in this. Many seniors experience similar challenges with their grown children. Finding a community, whether in person or online, where you can share your experiences and get advice, can be incredibly healing. It reminds you that you're not isolated and that there are people who understand what you're going through. So far, we've covered two crucial steps: setting clear boundaries and practicing self-respect. Now, we've introduced the idea of seeking support outside your immediate family, but there's still one more point to discuss, one that could make a significant difference in how you handle disrespect from your grown children. But before we dive into that, let's pause for a moment to reflect on how these first 3 steps have already begun to shift your mindset and approach. When you take control of the situation with boundaries, self-respect, and support, you're not only protecting yourself emotionally, but you're also creating the space for healthier, more respectful relationships moving forward. And with that in mind, let's continue exploring how to handle the last crucial piece of this puzzle. As we continue this conversation about handling disrespect from your grown children, it's important to remember that the process isn't just about dealing with the immediate hurt. It's also about cultivating long-term, healthier ways of interacting with your children and protecting your emotional well-being. So, let's explore the fourth and final strategy: communication, and why it's so vital for maintaining both your self-respect and your relationship with your children. When you're faced with disrespect, one of the first impulses might be to react emotionally, whether that's through anger, frustration, or even withdrawal. And let's be honest, these reactions are completely understandable. It's hard not to feel hurt or defensive when someone you love is treating you poorly. However, responding in the heat of the moment can often make things worse rather than better. It's like trying to fix a leak in a boat by patching it up with your hands while the water's rushing in. It might stop the water momentarily, but the real problem still remains. That's why communication is so crucial. But communication in a way that's calm, clear, and compassionate, not confrontational. Let's break this down. Think of a time when you felt truly heard by someone. It's probably a moment when they listened to you fully, without interrupting, and responded with understanding. That's the kind of communication we want to aim for when addressing disrespect. If your child's actions or words have hurt you, it's essential to express your feelings in a way that doesn't place blame, but instead opens up the door for conversation and understanding. For example, rather than saying, "You never listen to me," or "You don't respect me," you could start the conversation by focusing on your own feelings. You might say something like, "I've been feeling really hurt lately when I don't get a call or a visit like we talked about. I really look forward to spending time with you, and when that doesn't happen, I feel unimportant." By focusing on your emotions rather than accusing or blaming, you're more likely to create a space where your child feels safe to listen and reflect on their behavior. Effective communication also involves patience and timing. Don't try to have this conversation when tensions are high or when your child is in the middle of a stressful situation. Choose a time when both of you can talk openly, without distractions. And when you speak, aim for a tone that's firm but not aggressive, clear but not harsh. The goal isn't to win the conversation, but to make your needs known and to give your child the chance to reflect on their actions. At the same time, it's essential to be open to their perspective. Sometimes, the disrespect you feel might not be intentional. Perhaps they're going through something in their own life that's affecting their ability to show up in a way that you need. When you approach the conversation with empathy and understanding, you might find that the disrespect stems from something entirely unrelated to you. Maybe they're struggling with work, health issues, or their own emotional challenges. This doesn't excuse the disrespect, but it can help you approach the situation with a little more compassion and a willingness to find a solution together. But communication doesn't end with one conversation. It's an ongoing process. After you've expressed your feelings and set your boundaries, it's important to keep the lines of communication open. You can check in with your child, asking them how they're doing and letting them know that you value their relationship. This ongoing effort can help create a dynamic where both parties feel heard and respected, making it easier to navigate future disagreements or misunderstandings. At this point, you may be thinking, well, this all sounds good in theory, but what if the disrespect continues even after I've tried all of these strategies? And that's a very valid concern. Unfortunately, there's no magic formula to ensure that people, whether they're your children or anyone else, will always treat you with respect. But the key is that these actions empower you to take control over how you respond, and they help you maintain your dignity and emotional well-being regardless of how others behave. If you've set boundaries, practiced self-respect, sought support, and communicated openly, and the disrespect continues, it may be time to reassess the relationship. This isn't about cutting off your children, but it's about creating a relationship that's based on mutual respect. Sometimes, it's necessary to take a step back to protect your mental health, while still showing love and care from a distance. This can be incredibly difficult, but sometimes distancing yourself emotionally can give your children the space they need to reconsider their actions. Remember, you have the right to protect your peace. You're not responsible for changing others, but you are responsible for how you allow others to treat you. If someone continuously disrespects you, it might be a sign that the relationship needs to evolve. That doesn't mean it's the end of the relationship, but it may require new boundaries or even professional help, such as family counseling, to work through these issues in a healthy way. Now that we've covered the core strategies, setting boundaries, practicing self-respect, seeking outside support, and communication, it's important to wrap up with one final thought. Handling disrespect from your grown children is never easy, but it's also an opportunity to grow and strengthen not only your relationship with them, but also your relationship with yourself. By implementing these strategies, you're teaching your children the value of healthy boundaries, mutual respect, and emotional well-being. You're showing them that, no matter how old we get, we all deserve to be treated with kindness and consideration. But more than that, you're reminding yourself that your emotional health is just as important as theirs. You are worthy of respect, love, and care, and by taking steps to ensure you're treated that way, you're giving yourself the gift of a healthier, more fulfilling relationship with both your children and yourself. I hope you found these strategies helpful, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you experienced this kind of situation with your children? How have you handled it? Leave a comment below and share your story. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content focused on living your best life at any age. Remember, you deserve to be treated with respect, and with patience, understanding, and the right tools, you can handle any challenge that comes your way. Here's to living a life filled with love, respect, and joy, no matter what. As we move forward in this discussion on how to handle being disrespected by your grown children, let's take a moment to reflect on the journey we've covered so far. We've already discussed important steps like setting boundaries, practicing self-respect, seeking outside support, and engaging in healthy communication. These strategies are meant to empower you, to give you back control in situations where you may have felt helpless or disregarded. But what if, despite all your efforts, the situation still doesn't change? What if the respect you're hoping for continues to feel out of reach? This is where the idea of acceptance comes into play. It's a delicate and often difficult concept, but sometimes, accepting that you can't control another person's behavior can be a powerful and freeing step. It's important to acknowledge that you can only control how you respond, not how others behave, and that realization can change everything. At first glance, acceptance might seem like giving up, but in reality, it's the opposite. Acceptance isn't about tolerating disrespect or passively waiting for things to improve. It's about freeing yourself from the emotional burden of trying to fix everything. It's understanding that, even though you've done everything you can to address the situation, your child may still be struggling with their own issues that prevent them from showing you the respect you deserve. There's a certain peace that comes with acceptance, especially when it's paired with the other strategies we've already talked about. Acceptance allows you to release the constant worry, anger, or frustration that might otherwise consume your thoughts. When you stop expecting a change in someone else, you free yourself from the cycle of disappointment. It's not about giving up on the relationship, but about recognizing that you are not responsible for how others treat you. You are responsible for how you respond. One of the ways acceptance can manifest in a positive way is through forgiveness. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or excusing the disrespect. It means letting go of the emotional grip that the disrespect has on you. It's about finding peace within yourself, even if things don't look exactly how you want them to with your child. By forgiving, you allow yourself to move forward without carrying the weight of bitterness or resentment. Now, I know that forgiveness can be a hard thing to do. It's one of those things that sounds good in theory, but can feel nearly impossible in practice, especially if the hurt is deep. But the act of forgiving, whether it's a small thing or something more significant, doesn't require you to let the other person off the hook. Forgiveness is a gift you give yourself. It's a way of saying, I am choosing not to let this hurt define me. Let's say, for example, that your grown child has repeatedly made hurtful comments about your decisions, or maybe they've even disregarded your wishes on something important. It's easy to hold on to the anger and let it affect your emotional health. But forgiveness means acknowledging that you have the power to release that anger. You don't have to carry it with you. You can still maintain your boundaries and communicate your needs, but you no longer have to let their actions weigh you down. Another key aspect of acceptance is embracing the reality of your child's personal journey. We all have our struggles, and sometimes your child's actions may stem from things you don't fully understand. Maybe they've been dealing with stress at work, a difficult relationship, or even unresolved issues from their past that are impacting how they treat you. This doesn't excuse their behavior, but it does help you see the situation from a more compassionate perspective. Think about how, as a parent, you may have had your own struggles at times. You weren't always perfect, and perhaps there were moments when you didn't give them the attention or care they needed. It doesn't mean you didn't love them or that you were a bad parent, but just that you were human. Your grown children are human too, and they may be dealing with their own set of challenges. Recognizing this can soften your approach and help you find peace in the face of ongoing disrespect. But even as you work through acceptance, it's crucial to still protect your emotional health. Acceptance doesn't mean tolerating constant mistreatment. It's about finding a healthy middle ground. You don't need to accept disrespectful behavior. You simply need to accept that, in some situations, the best you can do is control how you respond. And here's the final point I want to leave you with. Sometimes, no matter how hard you try, some relationships might never fully heal or return to the way you want them to. And that's okay. It's painful, yes, but it's also part of life. Not all relationships can be repaired, and not all wounds can be healed, but that doesn't diminish your worth or your ability to live a full, happy life. You are deserving of love, respect, and peace, and even if your relationship with your children is strained, you can still find happiness and fulfillment in other areas of your life. In the end, the most important relationship you have is the one with yourself. When you approach challenges like disrespect with a sense of self-worth, emotional resilience, and peace, you create a life that is rich with meaning and joy, regardless of the dynamics with others. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is choose your own well-being over the pain of trying to change others. So, as we wrap up this conversation, I want to leave you with one last thought. You have the power to decide how much influence other people's behavior has over your happiness. You can choose to set boundaries, practice self-respect, seek support, communicate openly, accept what you cannot change, and, when necessary, forgive. And through all of that, remember that you deserve to be treated with kindness, dignity, and love. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. If any of this resonates with you, I'd love to hear about your experiences and thoughts. Please feel free to share them in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content that helps you live your best life at any age. Remember, no matter what your relationship with your children looks like right now, you have the strength and wisdom to navigate it with grace. You deserve respect, and most importantly, you deserve peace. Take care of yourself and keep shining brightly, no matter what.